Today I want to talk to you about using data to create better video ads. It sounds simple, but a lot of people forget about it. If you make video ads for your own e-commerce brand or somebody else's, then you need to make sure that at every single stage in production you're using data in order to lead the production. This can start by looking at past creative and seeing what's performed and what hasn't, and using that data set in order to guide you into what to create. Or it can be making changes to existing creative in order to make it perform better. Here at Fraggell, we do both of these. Whenever we get into a client's ad account, the first thing that we normally do is look through all of their existing creative and seeing what's worked and what hasn't. If something hasn't worked, why hasn't it worked? And we need to make sure that we don't do that so that our creative works better. And the same goes for when we find something that has worked. Why has it worked? Has it stopped the scroll very quickly? Has it converted because it had a really good call to action at the end? What was the reason for it working? And then we replicate that in our creative. And then when our ads go live, then we're constantly monitoring to make sure that they are performing the way we want them to. If they're not, then we need to start to make changes and sending them back to the client in order to keep on reading by the data, making changes and making better creative for our clients. One of the main stats that we use in order to gauge how well a video is performing is the click-through rate. That's the percentage of people which have seen the ad and then clicked through to the website. This is vital because your ad creative is normally the portal to your website. If you have a really low click-through rate, then that means that something in your creative isn't right and is causing people to basically just ignore your advert. If you have a really high click-through rate, then that means, hooray, your ad creative is doing its job, and so normally you don't really need to touch everything. As long as all the other KPIs are in place, then you're good to go. Without looking at this data, then you are essentially going into content creation completely blind, with no idea of what works and what doesn't work. This is why making videos for paid media is so great, because you're always getting live feedback on what works. If a YouTuber has a video that doesn't do too well, then they're probably not going to make that video again. It works just the same in paid media. If you have an ad that just absolutely flops, then find out why it flopped and don't do that again. Without data, we wouldn't be able to do that. I've spoken about a lot of this in a few of my other videos about testing, but you need to make sure that you know what your clients or your KPIs are. If your video isn't meeting those KPIs, then you need to figure out why it's not and then use that data to make better creative. Another great data point that you need to be looking at is your thumb stop rate. This isn't built into platforms, so you need to do a little bit of maths to work this one out. But essentially what it's telling you is the percentage of people which are seeing your advert and stopping and watching it. If people aren't stopping watching it, then your hook, your scroll stopper is the problem. So how do we work it out? Well, you need to take your lowest video view data point, which on Facebook is 3 seconds, on TikTok is 2 seconds. You need to divide that by your number of impressions and then times that by 100, and then that should give you a percentage. If that is over 30%, then happy days. You can probably do some more change in order to tweak it to get it higher, but if it's under 30%, then you need to switch it up. There's a lot of different things that go into a successful hook, but what I normally say is you need to start with something on the screen. If you're starting with a blank screen or a logo, then the chances are your thumb stop rate is going to be pretty low. So make sure starting with a human face is always a great idea. As humans, we connect well with other people's faces, so that's always a good point. Or asking a question, doing something to capture the person's attention with and without sound is very important. Thumb stop rate is by far one of the most powerful stats that you can use on TikTok in order to see whether your ad is performing well, because all we're doing is swiping on TikTok all the time, and we literally stop swiping when we see a video that we enjoy. And once again, if that is under 30%, then you need to switch it out and change it. In order to look at what hooks are working, just look through your TikTok, gauge it, do a bit of research, note down some stuff. There's some great resources on Twitter and online for some samples for hooks in order to improve your ad creative. I actually made a great video on ad creative that you should be making this year. So if you want some ideas on some ad creative, then it'll be up here or down there. Go and check it out. It's a great video if I say so myself. Just before we go, So one final tip is make sure that you're paying attention to your copywriting, because a lot of the time that can be one of the main reasons why your ad isn't working, and you can look at that in your data. Are people falling off when certain captions are on the screen? Are those captions readable? One main thing that we see quite a lot is that the platform's UI is covering your captions, and so people basically swipe off straight away. So that could be another reason why your thumb stop rate is so slow. So think about that. Make sure you're previewing your ad creative on all the platforms before you make it live. And that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helped you a little bit into seeing why you should be using data when making your ad creative and why that's so important. Have a look on the channel, lots of videos on ad creative and testing your ad creative and why you should be doing it. So go and look at them. Make sure you drop a subscription and a like and a comment, and I'll see you next time.